This is the way I wanted to be. This is the way I wanted to be. Oh, this is the way I wanted to be. Hey, I wanna be a soldier. Hey, I wanna be a rugged. Hey, 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 I wanna be a soldier. This is the way I wanted to be.
Oh, Jabe, hey, oh, Jabe, hey, oh, Jabe, hey, Mora, hi, Mora, hi, Mora, hi, Mora, hi, Mora, hi.
Oh, Mimi Coco Miko, oh, Mimi Coco Miko, oh, Mimi Coco Laberi, oh, Mimi Coco Bakasi, oh, Mimi Coco Siriali, oh, Mimi Coco Miko. Eko ya ya yo. Eko Bakasi, Eko Liberia, Eko ya ya yo. Eko ya ya ya.
Oh, Jabe, hey, oh, Jabe, hey, oh, Jabe, hey, Mora, hi, Mora, hi, Mora, hi, Mora, hi.
Abese oh, Abese,
Wonderful,
Abese oh, Mama Angelina,
wonderful,
Mami water say make I no corner water.
wonderful,
I go corner water, I see something.
wonderful,
And Mama Papa say make I no John Soldier.
wonderful,
If I John Soldier, I go see wahala.
wonderful,
But I John Soldier, I no see wahala.
wonderful,
As I John Soldier, my morale high.
wonderful,
As I John Soldier, I can't be rugged.
wonderful. Oh, Jabe, hey, oh, Jabe, hey, oh, Jabe, hey, Mora, hi, Mora, hi.
He gave me one follow, hey. He gave me one follow.
Ay, 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 comfort.
He gave me one follow, hey. He gave me one follow.
Ay, 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 comfort.
Lokuna hola mo.
Ay, 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 comfort.
Lokuna hola mo.
Ay, 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 comfort.
Today, tomorrow no more. If I die today, I will die no more. Today, tomorrow no more. If I die today, I will die no more. Kai.
Zambu, oni, bahoni.
Zambu,
Oni, bahoni.
Zambu,
Oni, bahoni.
Zambu,
Oni, bahoni.
Zambu,
Oni, bahoni.
Zambu,
Oni, bahoni.
I go dance with you.
Hey, yeah.
I go play with you.
Hey, yeah.
But I no go touch your cherry. I go make you happy, no going back, no going back. Open the chamber, pata pata. Auntie ye na go de,
Diamond,
auntie ye na go de.
diamond,
Cock and hook,
diamond,
all and well.
diamond,
Auntie ye na go de.
diamond.
Inkererenke, inkererenke. Say I love you,
Aladio, aladio.
say obandoma,
Ubandoma, ubandoma.
say omolara,
Omolara, omolara.
say iyabose,
Iyabose, iyabose.
Oli, oli yo.
Shanta,
Oli yo.
shanta,
Munje garin ku mun bi kulawa.
shanta,
Mun kun zo garin mu yaya kenan.
shanta,
Oli yo.
shanta,
Oli yo.
shanta,
Oli yo.
shanta.
Iyole,
Iyo,
iyama,
iyo,
iyole o,
iyo,
iyama.
iyo.
Tinsi money,
Iyo.
I no bad trouble.
Iyo.
So running,
Iyo.
so jogging.
Iyo,
Iyole,
iyo,
iyama,
iyo,
iyole o,
iyo,
iyama.
iyo.
Put it on food o,
Iyo.
your mama cook o.
Iyo.
So pepper,
Iyo.
so maggi.
Iyo.
Babu gishiri.
Iyo.
Mama no dey o,
Iya,
Baba no dey o.
iya.
If you want to fire me, fire make I die. I will never run away from this army. Mama no dey o, dem no dey o. Papa no dey o, dem no dey o. If you want to fire me, fire make I die. I will never run away from this army. This is the way I wanted wanted to be, oh, this is the way I wanted to be. This is the way I wanted to be, oh, this is the way I wanted to be.
Left, right, left, right, left, right. Left, right, left, right. Just stay. Left, 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 right. Left, right, left, right. Just stay.
My left, my right. My left, my right. My left, right leg. My left, right leg. My left, my right. My left, my right. My left, right leg. My left, right leg. The kind of jogging, where we do, it make us rugged, throughout the course, my left, my right, my left, right leg, my left, right leg, my left, my right, my left, right leg, my left, right leg. This is the way I wanted to be, oh, this is the way I wanted to be. This is the way I wanted to be, oh, this is the way I wanted to be. Hey, I wanna be a soldier. Hey, I wanna be a rugged. Hey, I wanna be a soldier. This is the way I wanted to be. Omi mi koko laberi, omi mi koko bakasi, omi mi koko siriali, omi mi koko miko. Iyo, eko ya yo. Eko bakasi, eko Liberia, eko ya yo. Iyo, eko ya yo. Abese, wonderful. Abese, oh mama Angelina, wonderful. Mami water say make I no gonna water, wonderful. I go gonna water, I see something, wonderful. And mama papa say make I no John soldier, wonderful. If I John soldier, I go see wahala, wonderful. But I John soldier, I no see wahala, wonderful. As I John soldier, my morale high, wonderful. As I John soldier, I can't be rocket, wonderful. Oh the bay, hey. Oh the bay, hey. Oh the bay, hey. Mora, hi, mora, hi. He gave me one follow, hey. He gave me one follow, he gave me one follow, hey. He gave me one follow, look on a whole amo, look on a whole amo. Today, tomorrow no more. If I die today, I won't die no more. Today, tomorrow no more. If I die today, I will die no more. I will dance with you, I will play with you, but I no go touch your cherry. I will make you happy, no go back, no go back. Open the chamber, pata pata. Auntie na bode, diamond. Auntie na bode, diamond. Come down, diamond. Hold on, well, diamond. Auntie na bode, diamond. Inkerenke, say I love you, say woman Shanta, Shanta, Munde garu mundi kulawa. Shanta, unkunzo garin biya ya kenan. Shanta, 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 Shanta. Iyole, iyama, iyole, tisi money, another job, so running, so jolly. Iyole, iyama, iyole, iyama, put it down for your mama kuku, so pepper, so mighty, babu gishi, mama no dey, Baba no dey. If you want to fire me, die. I will never run away from this army. Mama no dey, Mama no dey, If you want to fire me, die. I will never run away from this army. This is the way I wanted to be, this is the way I wanted to be. This is the way I wanted to be, this is the way I wanted to be. Left, right, left, right, left, right. Left, right, left, right. Just stay. Left, right. Left, right, left, right. Just stay. My left, my right. My left, right leg. My left, right leg. My left, my right. My left, right leg. My left, right leg. The kind of jogging where we do, it make us forget throughout the call. My left, my right, my left, right leg, my left, right leg, my This is the way I wanted to be, this is the way I wanted to be. This is the way I wanted to be, this is the way I wanted to be. Hey, I wanna be a soldier. Hey, I wanna be a rugged. Hey, I wanna be a soldier. This is the way I wanted to be. Koko laberi, omi mi koko bakasi, omi mi koko siriali, omi mi koko miko. Iyo, eko ya yo. Eko bakasi, eko laberia, eko ya yo. Iyo, eko ya Abese, wonderful. Abese, mama Jelina, wonderful. Mami, water say make a no kona water, wonderful. I go kona water, I see something, wonderful. And mama, papa say make a no John Soldier, wonderful. If I John Soldier, I go see wahala, wonderful. But I John Soldier, I no see wahala, wonderful. As I John Soldier, my moral high, wonderful. As I John Soldier, I can't be rocket, wonderful. Oh, the baby, hey. Oh, the baby, hey. Oh, the baby, hey. Mora, hi, Mora, hi. He can't be one follow, hey. Olamo. Today, tomorrow no more. If I die today, I will die no more. Today, tomorrow no more. If I die today, I will die no more. I go dance with you, I go play with you, but I no go touch your cherry. I go make you happy, no go back, no go back. Open the chamber, pata pata. Auntie na go de, daya money. Auntie na go de, daya money. Cock and hook, daya money. All and well, daya money. Auntie na go de, daya money. Inkerenke, say alabio, say ubandoma, say omolara, say iyabose, oli yo, shanta, oli yo, shanta, munje garungu mundi kulawa, shanta, unkunzo garingu ya kenan, shanta, oli yo, shanta, oli yo, shanta. Iyama, iyama, since morning, I know about trouble, so running, so jogging, iyama, iyama, what you count food, your mama cook, so pepper, so maggi, babu gishiri, mama no de, Baba no de, if you want to fire me, make I die. I will never run away from this army. Mama no de, Baba no de, if you want to fire me, make I die. I will never run away from this army. This is the way I wanted to be, this is the way I wanted to be. This is the way I wanted to be, this is the way I wanted to be. Left, right, just aim. Left, right, just aim. My left, my right, my left, right leg, my left, right leg, my left, my right, my left, right leg, my left, right leg. The kind of jogging, where we do, it make us rocket, throughout the course, my left, my right, my left, right leg, my left, right leg, my left, my right, my left, right leg, my left, right leg.
And the battalion sergeant major is Sergeant Major Ansumana Imandra. Alpha Company 1st Infantry Battalion, 23rd Infantry Brigade is commanded by 2nd Lieutenant Doro Abraham. The company 1st Sergeant is Kura Christian. Bravo Company 1st Infantry Battalion is commanded by 2nd Lieutenant Hodges S. Abraham. The company 1st Sergeant is Staff Sergeant Liman Abraham. Charlie Company 1st Infantry Battalion is commanded by 2nd Lieutenant Duan James. The company 1st Sergeant is Sergeant Kura Christian. 2nd Infantry Battalion is commanded by Captain Untitled. The battalion sergeant major is Staff Sergeant Wilson Archie. After company 2nd Battalion 210th Infantry Brigade is commanded by 2nd Lieutenant Topan Patrick, and the company first sergeant is Sergeant Maxwell Passenger. To be a soldier is to represent the best of our nation. It is to embody selfless service, to strive in the hardship and sacrifice expected of an elite warrior class, to walk towards the sound of guns, and to ably show the heritage created by those who have gone before us.
Today, we pay homage to our men, our gallant men and women of our military who, in joining this valued institution, the Armed Forces of Liberia, have taken on the solemn duty to protect us, to defend our nation state, and to preserve our national heritage as a united people. Our nation and our people can appreciate the decision of those brothers and sisters of our nation to become part of this noble corps of citizens, not because they intended that this institution should be an avenue for them to enrich themselves or to secure wealth or any appreciable monetary benefits. Rather, and to the contrary, many of us believe that they deserve to be honored and to be cherished because the motivation behind their decision to join the new military and thereby forfeit the luxury and the comfort which others of us in the national hierarchy enjoy was love and sacrifice for country, the motherland. We know that in making that decision, they vowed to sacrifice their lives to secure and maintain the security and the sovereignty of our nation state. I hope and I pray that this motivation by some of our citizens to protect us and to protect our nation state, and in subscribing to the military, will always be the focal of our national existence as a nation and as a united people. Mr. Chief of Staff and the gallant men and women of our military, we gave you the praise and we gave you the honor, deserving of the allegiance you hold to this nation, to protect and to preserve it. We are aware that there are other institutions in our nation that provide security for us, but we are also mindful that it is the military that is both constitutionally and statutorily given the unique mandate and the charge to safeguard the state and our collectivity as a united people. We look to the courage which our men and women of the military are expected to portray and display every day, even when, because as we see ourselves in peacetime, we do not therefore physically see those hidden values that they carry. It is with this mindset that we go to bed every night, content in a prayerful, peaceful mood that our nation is safe and that we can enjoy its safety because of the allegiance which you, the men and women of our military, have pledged and which you hold to our nation state. We as a people may not be able to give you the reward which you deserve for the sacrifice which our laws and our people expect of you, of your daily expectations for our country. We may not be able to even articulate or express the emotions we feel for the unique sacrificial contributions you are called upon to make for our nation and through our nation, again, to all of us as a united people. And yet, we do want you to know that in our hearts, we deeply appreciate your commitment to our nation state, and by that commitment, your protection of our people as a unit. Not 16 separate units, which we call our tribes. Not 4.5 million units, which we call ourselves, but as a single unit, which form our nation state. This I am perceived as ignoring history, the history of our military. Let me state that all may not have been well in the past with our brothers and our sisters charged to bear arms, to bear the mantle of our country. We cannot forget, although we do not hold, the deviations from the rules of engagement or the missteps which our military was caused to pursue, or perhaps even the display of the lack of humanity and humanitarianism, and at times even the perpetration or infliction of pains and agonies on our people. It is difficult to forget the events like the invasion of the University of Liberia in 1984 and the loss of lives which was experienced. The recollection of in some of our minds of the incident at the United Nations compound where innocent of our citizens lost their lives, and at the Lutheran Church in Sincor, where again many of our innocent citizens seeking to flee the fear engendered by some of our men in arms. As a sanctuary, that holy place experienced massacre. But we still honor you because we view those painful mistakes not as hatred, but as lessons. And we hold the view and maintain the hope that those errors form the core and the impetus for the new military, the new Armed Forces of Liberia, which we see and which we find we are governed by today. Just under 24 hours ago, so you know I must have struggled last night writing this speech. Just under 24 hours ago, I was blessed to see a new light of our military. A representative corps of military personnel attended a Thanksgiving service at the Eliza Turner Memorial African Methodist Episcopal Church on Ken Johnson Road. I am a member of that church. The Minister of Defense informed us, the citizens and others who gathered to witness the occasion, that it had become the custom of the military on the Sunday just before the anniversary of the Armed Forces Day to give thanks to God for safeguarding the military, and by that safeguarding of the military, the Liberian nation state and its citizens. It was not the statement that was made by the minister that was the source of motivation for me, as good as the statement was. Instead, It was the feeling of the presence of peace in and around and about the entire atmosphere, an atmosphere of fellowship and friendship displayed by our men and women in arms. I felt a new sense of love and a new sense of pride for our military, for our men and our women in arms, not just for the sacrifice which they have undertaken for us and for our nation, again, as a unit, but also that we could come with peace of mind and not run away from them in fear. I was unashamed that we had a rebirth of a new and a proud military. I prayed that we will never again witness a repeat of the mistakes of the past, when allegiance was lost to the state and to the people as a unit. But that feeling of calm with our military on yesterday only reinforced my belief in our new military. That is why, Mr. Chief of Staff, and the gallant men and women of our armed forces, I am honored by you, by your choice of this son of the land, to share his views with you and with the people of Liberia on what I believe in this new era our military could be engaged in to the benefit of our people as a unit. And I continue to stress as a unit and the interest and love which they have the courage to show for our nation. I thank the Minister of Defense because I feel assured that he gave concurrence to your choice. And I am grateful, very grateful, to the Commander-in-Chief, whose blessings I feel confident was accorded, so that I'm able to use this opportunity to share the views I hold of your work and of your deeds on this significant occasion, the celebration of the 62nd year of the birth of the Armed Forces of Liberia. I'm also thankful of my understanding dear wife, Gertrude Horace Banks, who has been an inspiration to me. But most of all, I am thankful, eternally thankful, to the Heavenly Father, the Almighty God, for the life that he gave to me and that he gave to all of our Liberian citizens. For I can appreciate that all that we are and all that we will become, we owe to him. For that I gave him honor and the praise. Let me state before proceeding further, and as all of you know, I was trained as a lawyer. It is the only profession I believe I have a very good command of, that I have been involved in and with for the greater part of my life, and that I hope I will continue to be engaged in for the rest of my life. I hold a passion for the law and for the rule of law, and I grieve when I see a deviation, even the slightest deviation from the law. But on this occasion, devoted to our men and our women of the Armed Forces of Liberia, I crave your indulgence to ignore the politics of the time and even alluding to the law unrelated to the subject of this occasion, to instead concentrate only on what I think could be the virtues of our military, and hopefully by that I could do justice to this occasion by confining myself and my thoughts to the theme of the day, building a force for good through service and welfare. I know this theme, selected by our military, as a symbol of recognition that the military is not constituted only to engage in armed conflict or armed combat. For many a times, that perception, if viewed alone, could and has generated a disagreement between our military and our people, the people they have undertaken by their solemn oath to serve and to protect and our nation's state. This is not to detract from the full awareness that one of the core premises for the formation of the military is that it will, at the appropriate time, in the appropriate context, and under the appropriate circumstances, engaged in armed conflict. But the theme recognizes also that there is a softer side to the military, especially our military of today. A force that is not just bent on armed combat, but that must see the envision a goal for the common good of our people and our nation, that sees itself not just as a force for war, but as a force for peace, a force for charity, a force for humanity, a force for the humanitarian pursuits so desperately needed by our people. That is what I gather from the theme selected by the military on this occasion. And I hold the view that it is appropriate because I also believe, strongly believe, that by the force for good, the force for charity, and the force for humanity of our people, and that force for indulging in the humanitarian challenges of our nation, we can enjoy the privilege of peace, fully cognizant of the grave turbulences we faced and underwent in the past. Turbulences that may have left scars on our bodies, in our hearts, and in our minds, and which even to this day, many of our people are still trying to heal. Conscious that God, having given us a second chance, if we fail in this, we could face the prospect of being deprived of a third chance. This is where our military can display its charity and its humanity to and for our people, and display, as the theme indicates, that service and welfare can heal the wounds of a nation and of a people. We are aware that in recent times, our military has been involved in peacekeeping, including peacekeeping in Mali, a task that is worthy of our men and our women in arms, and they should be applauded for that. But that task also partakes of an armed conflict. It may have a humanitarian composition to it, but its primary focus remains the military armed conflict. I remember vividly an incident that occurred in my office in January of 1991, when at the time I served as Minister of Justice and Attorney General of Liberia during the tenure of the interim government of national unity, at the time known as IGNU. That government had set foot on the shores of Liberia in November of 1990. It was only 2 months thereafter that while in the Ministry of Justice building, which was still substantially in shattered conditions, I had the occasion of being informed that a lawyer, whom I knew very well and had a good deal of respect for, wanted to see me and pay his respects. I welcomed him wholeheartedly, and I thought with joy. But the first response of this lawyer to my greetings was to query as to how many persons I had thus so far incarcerated. I had difficulty believing that in the midst of the turmoil the nation and its people were undergoing at the time, I was being asked how many persons I had landed in the jails at the South Beach. which was still full of the scent of dead bodies. Not because they, the people whom the lawyers believe I should have arrested, had done something violative of the law or committed any crimes, but because such act, he said, would demonstrate how strong I was. I responded that I had jailed no one, for I saw my mission at the time as one of restoration, not only of the law, but also of our people, and in the ultimate, one of humanity. I tried to explain to my lawyer colleague that I knew of the powers which the Minister of Justice held in the palm of his hands. He could arrest, incarcerate, jail, torment, and perhaps even kill citizens and others for reasons which he could cite and claim were justifiable. But that office, I said to myself, put enough fear in people that they feared the minister when his or her intentions were even good. Why, I asked, with the reality of being in the middle of a war crisis and knowing the pains and the suffering which our people had undergone and continued to undergo at the time, would I want to inflict more pains on them by incarcerating merely because it would demonstrate to them that I had power or that I was all-powerful, and rather than heal the wounds, only cause them more pains? Fortunately, and perhaps because of a Christian upbringing by my mother, I did not have to struggle in my mind to convince myself that power was not all to the problems we face. One could be all-powerful and could still be defeated. We learned from the Bible of the story of little David and the giant Goliath. The government that had disintegrated and which thereby had caused the birth of the interim government of national unity, I said, held enormous power and a strong military, our military, and yet it could not survive. The exercise of that power, any power, I thought, had to be for the good of the nation and for the humanity of its people. I noted, and at least it was my conviction, that the forces of Mr. Charles Taylor did not succeed because they were all powerful or even more powerful than our national armed forces at the time. No, I attributed the success of Mr. Taylor's forces to the fact that the nation's armed men and women at the time had deviated so far from the path which had been designed for them to tread, and from the rules of engagement, that it had lost the path for good, for sympathy, and for humanity. And in the process, it had lost the people. But these were not the first trying times our people had faced. Decades and perhaps even close to a century, our people had unpleasant encounters with their then military when they feared and ran rather than love them, embrace them, and run through them. Those times are changing, however, not just in Liberia, but in many other nations of the world. Today's theme, building a force for good through service and welfare, recognizes that new reality. It recognizes the same as I felt 28 years ago and the same as I feel today, that no matter how strong we may be or we may think we are, and that includes even our military, if we are without the goodness required of us and from us, if we are without sympathy, that must at all times be the core of our pursuits. And if we are without humanity, that is so much an indispensable element of our being, then the road to success, true success, will be most difficult, perhaps even unachievable. My friend was truly astonished at my response, and in a loud voice he lectured me on the how, the why, and the benefits, attending the need to incarcerate our people, even when they were doing nothing wrong. I said to him, the same as I say today to our noble men and women in arms, that must not be the focus of your mission, and that if it ever gets to the point where it becomes a mission, or if power cannot be used for good, then it behoves you to seek new meanings to life. For there is always something better and always something greater to life than to injure and suffer a people and a nation. It is with that backdrop that I take recourse to our military law. Generally, our laws recognize that the military is an institution whose prime responsibility is to train our men and our women in the art of military combat, aimed at defending the sovereignty of the nation state. Section 2.3 of the new National Defense Act, enacted in 2008, sets out that, and I quote, "The primary mission of the EFL shall be to defend the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Liberia, including land, air, and marine territory, against external aggressions, insurgencies, terrorism, and encroachment," unquote. As such, the men and women of our military are exposed to the various kinds of weaponry and the manifold techniques of war encountered in armed conflict, and in how to destroy or kill one's opponent, believed to be the enemy. That perception is, to a large extent, correct in respect of a great many nations, for that generally is what the mission of the military is. The new National Defense Act clearly sets out the role of the military as an institution of the state, charged with the responsibility to protect and safeguard the sovereignty of the state and be a key responder to threats to the nation and its survival, and to the national peace and security. We, all of us, expect the military will play that role, and perhaps for that reason, many of us have come to the belief that the military is a force established primarily to destroy. But again today's theme rejects that perception. As the theme of the day suggests, that perception of the military does not tell the whole story or depicts the whole picture, the whole expectancy of the military in the era in which we live. Many nations, including the world's leading perceived democracy, the United States of America, have come to face the realization that the military is not simply an armed fighting machine directed towards or established for the purpose of dealing with wars and armed conflict, or for the use of blunt force, but that it also can and should be used as an instrument of peace for the good of a people and the nation in times and periods that do not even involve armed conflict, that the military can be a core proponent or institution for humanity. Indeed, Section 2.3 of the new National Defense Act doesn't just recognize the armed combat role of our military, but it also sets out as part of the mission of the EFL that it, quote, shall respond to natural disasters and engage in civil works as may be required or directed. Further, subsection C of the same section specifically empowers the EFL to provide, and we quote, command, communications, logistics, medical, transportation, and humanitarian support to the civil authority in the event of a natural or man-made disaster, outbreak of disease, or epidemic. Such assistance shall be authorized by the President, unquote. Similar power is vested in the military by subsection D in regard to such rescue and life-saving missions, whether on land, sea, or in the air, as authorized by the President. Hence, by recognition of the law itself, the military, in addition to being a war machine, is also a humanitarian machine to save the nation, the people, and the cause, even when there is not an armed conflict. Thus, this new military, our new military, in this new era, cannot afford to make the mistake believing that intervention is only required in time of war, or when disaster occurs, or when the people are faced with a dire humanitarian crisis. The military must be prepared and must be supported by the government at all times, such that it can intervene at any moment and whenever the need is identified, whether there is a crisis of war, disaster, or not. Last year, using this as an example, I was opportune to witness firsthand the groundbreaking ceremonies for the construction of a military hospital in the area of the Kessley military barracks at Shufflin. At the time, I was still a member of the Supreme Court, and so I represented the Supreme Court of Liberia upon designation by the Chief Justice. I attended the event, not so much because the Chief Justice had asked me to represent the Supreme Court, which had been invited to witness the occasion. Rather, my focus and my greater joy was that I saw in the making, and I was proud to be a part of that historic occasion after seeing the turbulence of war that had for many years earlier engulfed our nation. I saw a new direction of our military, our men and our women of the Armed Forces of Liberia, from not just being trained in the art of war, but to now be moving into a new reality of being an instrument of humanity, of service, of peace, and of humanitarianism, thanks to the Commander-in-Chief. The hospital, I was convinced, would open up a new relationship of service and humanity between the military and our civilian populace. I saw the hospital as an avenue by our military to give service, as the team says, not just to military personnel and their families, but in addition to the wider surrounding and far away communities. It would serve all of our people in need, not just some of them. And it would be a communication bridge that could not only make our nation safer, but make it trusting of our military. I should say, in fact, more trusting of our military at this time. It will be a new challenge for our military and a new unique service for our military, but one with humanity, one which humanity would command and demand be fulfilled by our new men and women in arms. I was pleased that the President and the medical officer who spoke at that occasion echoed those very thoughts. The construction of the hospital would open up an opportunity and compel our military to be trained not just in holding arms, but in the medical profession, making that profession in the military a focus for service, a new humanitarian service to our people. This is where we can let our imagination take roots with us. Imagine the impact which such a facility could have. A military doctor attending to civilian patients, interaction for the good health of our people, and saving of the lives of our people, especially our children who otherwise may die. They could be helping in reducing the death rate amongst our people when, if in the course of an armed conflict, they could be increasing the death of our people. It would also not only ease the strain on other medical centers in the country, but it could be a service that could transform the perception of our military from an almost exclusive war-driven focus to a humanitarian focus. It would have the consequence of showing our people the humanitarian side of our military, so that they could be aware that they could come to our military for help and not be afraid, that they could love our people, our men and women in arms, and know that they are our own and of our own. I reasoned to myself on that occasion that this is a service that could create a lasting bond in the relationship between our people in the civilian community and our people in the military community. A relationship so cemented that we could sleep without fear of a national threat. So how could we achieve this goal? I reminded myself of the war waged upon us as a people and as a nation in 2014 by the deadly Ebola virus. We were told at the time that perhaps as many as over 1 million of our people could face the prospect of being completely wiped off the map. We were confused and initially barely knew what to do or what our options were. No doubt we made many mistakes, even if we later congratulated ourselves with honor for the job well done once the virus was contained. But the point I make here is that once our government realized we lacked the capacity and the resources to cope with and combat the virus and save the lives of our people, and appealed, our government did, to our friends and the international community to help us from being annihilated by this deadly virus disease. And our friends and the international community agreed to come to our refuge. We realized that amongst the first group of people to land on our shores, guess who? The military. These were people who were driven by humanity and willing to place their lives on the line for us, not in armed combat, but to be an instrument for humanity. This spoke much of a military for service and welfare, and we can boast that the men and women of the military of the aiding nations, in placing their lives on the line for us, not for war, but for humanity, that we as a people were able to survive, and that we can enjoy that survival to today. But beyond the Ebola virus and other medical necessities, we see areas where the military had also played key roles. Look, we say, at the Hurricane Katrina, which happened in the United States. It was the military that played a key role. Look at the tsunami that occurred in Japan. It was the military that played a key role. Look at the earthquake that occurred in Haiti. It was the military that played that key role. In my own mind, we envision that this is the role, as the theme has set out, that our military is embarking upon. Today, the government speaks of the need for road networks. We know that connecting our people is not a luxury, it is a necessity, and for many reasons. Again, I had the occasion some time ago to pay a number of visits to areas not far out of Monrovia. It was difficult to believe that because there was no road connectivity, the people had to transport the sick, the very sick, and the children in wheelbarrows in order to get them to the hospital. They explained to me that in many cases, before they reached any medical facilities, the persons they were caring had expired. I suggest that road connectivity could be a major area of intervention by our military, service to our people, welfare of our people. But the service must be motivated by genuine intervention in humanity, not by our argument of politics. For I hold the view that the latter is not as sustainable as the former. Then there are issues revolving around the schooling of our children, requiring the need for new structures in many areas, not within their reach, or for that matter, our reach. Could there be intervention by the military in service and humanity, in construction of school facilities for our children, and even in the skills of teaching? The fields are unlimited. We are told that this will require funding, not budgeted for. I do not deny that there are costs involved and that there are certainly to be budgetary implications. But this is where, in refocusing on service, welfare, and humanity, we can set the strategic priorities and explore the avenues and mechanisms for achieving the end result. Again, let us explore this from the vantage point of our military. Often we hear of military assistance provided by our partners and friends. We are told of millions of United States dollars, much of which go to military hardware and training of military personnel for armed combat. It is not possible, is it not possible, to explore with friends, partners, and allies the possibility of including in that assistance package the training of doctors, of nurses, of engineers, and of other professionals who, being a part of the military, could also give meaningful service to our people and thereby engender in our people a perception our military is one that is involved in service and welfare. We can be proud that our partners are training our military men and women in the art of military combat, and for the reason to help maintain the sovereignty of the state. But being aware that there are other forces that could threaten the security and sovereignty unrelated to armed conflicts, such as health threats, disease, ignorance, literacy, could we prevail on our partners that while helping us develop and maintain our military for the safety and preservation of the sovereignty of our nation, that they include in the program for training key military personnel, and here I emphasize, not civilian personnel, but military personnel, who, being doctors, nurses, engineers, perhaps maybe even lawyers, as mean as we are sometimes, who could provide the core of folks, the core of people need to man some of our key areas of service. A few days ago, and I like to be referring to examples, at the dedication of the new facility for the Coast Guard, stationed in Grand Bassa County, the United States ambassador to this capital informed us of the pride that the United States took in funding the construction of this new facility, and with the President of Liberia, outlined benefits of the facility to the Coast Guard and to the nation. They spoke of how the facility will assist the Coast Guard in securing our marine shoals and our fisheries. The ambassador noted that the United States government and the people of the United States had expended around about $1 million on the facility. I reasoned to myself that it was a good and commendable undertaking. But I also asked the question, in the wake of the willingness of the United States government to help our military, and the promise made in respect of future military assistance, including the training of our military personnel for armed combat, could we also encourage that nation as a part of the assistance program to aid the military, the training of the required manpower needed to provide service to many of the sectors to our people that will help them survive, that will help them sustain themselves, that will help them be alive. But we accept the reality that it isn't enough to ask partners to aid us in such ventures, especially at a time when we are turning our attention to other endeavors and other areas identified by them as having greater needs than we do. And I'm talking about other nations that might be in need of their assistance. We must invest in those endeavors. And when I say we, I mean we as a government and as a people must invest in those endeavors and demonstrate our own commitment to such programs. I recall when I served as Associate Justice of the Supreme Court, we had an appeal made to NOCAL to aid us in the training of 2 judges, or if that organization agreed, even more judges. In mineral law, we had impressed upon the executives of that company that oil and gas exploration was a new phenomenon to Liberia, and we lacked the trained personnel at the time. We would probably have to engage others to perform that task, but we as a court could only engage Liberians, and so we had asked of that institution, could you finance 2 or 3 personnel of the judiciary who could come back and serve as judges, who would be key to the resolution of disputes arising out of the new phenomenon being introduced into Liberia, oil exploration. Unfortunately, we were told that the company was not prepared to expend any of its resources in the development of judicial expertise in this area, opting instead perhaps to pay executives. We could never appreciate the rationale for the company's action. For me, it defied logic and good sense, and I pray that our institutions, and especially such as we have now, our military, never take such a path. It is my hope that in our new dispensation, and with the benefits that could accrue from the expansion of our military into humanitarian endeavors in our nation, that we can properly set and follow the priorities. Here too, we can encourage our friends and our partners, but we must also take the step required of us. I could go deeper into documentation of what our military could do to give service and welfare to our people. But we've done, I believe, a lot of coverage of what our military could do and what we as a people can do to help our military. What I do advise is that our new military, which has shown a large measure of professionalism, never again become the object of not being in harmony with the people. That it will be allowed to provide service, not just of a military nature in our time of peace, but that it will ensure by the humanitarian outreach it gives to our people a cemented relationship with our people. Our military, in addition to the components we have stated, has 2 key components that I think our government could help our military with. There's the engineering component and there's the medical component. Together, I think those 2 components could be a powerhouse for humanity and for humanitarian efforts of our military. with our people. And I feel assured that with the assistance required, our military can indeed provide service and welfare to our people. I thank you again, Mr. Chief of Staff, and the gallant men and women of our new military, and to the Minister of National Defense, and particularly to the blessings of the Commander-in-Chief, to those who thought that there was a need for a new relationship and that they gave me the opportunity to speak on those needs. Thank you very much.
We'd like to invite to the podium up front Lieutenant Colonel Emmanuel Labi Sapong Gedu.
Sister.
Citation for Distinguished Service Order. Lieutenant Colonel Emmanuel Labi Sapong Gedu is a professional military personnel of the Ghanaian Armed Forces. He completed several military courses, including Senior Staff Course at the Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College, Combat Team Commanders Course, Junior Staff Course, United Nations Logistics Course, and Conflict-Related Violence Course at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center. Lieutenant Colonel Gedu held various positions which includes Staff Officer Grade 1, Deputy Director in charge of Training and Doctrine, Assistant Director in charge of Training, and currently a Commanding Officer of the Army Recruit Training School in Ghana. Lieutenant Colonel Emmanuel Labi Sapong Gedu was the first Ghanaian officer seconded to the Armed Forces of Liberia as an ECOWAS mentor. He was influential in putting together 2 infantry battalions of the 23rd Infantry Brigade of the Armed Forces of Liberia. Colonel Gedu was appointed as commander of the 2nd Battalion and was part of the team that drafted the Uniform Code of Military Justice for the Armed Forces of Liberia. He also introduced training in fundamental officer training for young officers of the Armed Forces of Liberia and was involved in drafting the first exercise instruction and scenarios for the new AFL. Colonel Gedu mentored the current leadership of the AFL and with assistance of the United States contractors, tailored the training package to suit current needs of the AFL. In an effort to encourage hard work among soldiers of the AFL, Colonel Gedu instituted an award scheme for hard-working and outstanding soldiers in the 2nd Battalion, which he funded from his own resources. Lieutenant Colonel Gedu's outstanding support to the Armed Forces of Liberia is in keeping with the finest tradition of military service and reflects distinct credit upon himself, his family, and the men and women of the Ghana Army. Therefore, for his dedication to duty, and selfless service to the Armed Forces of Liberia and the people of Liberia, I, Dr. George Mane Weah, President of the Republic of Liberia and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Liberia, do hereby decorate and award the Distinguished Service Order to Lieutenant Colonel Emmanuel Labi Sapong Gedu. Your services to our country bring credit upon yourself, the Ghanaian military and government and people of the Republic of Ghana, and the men and women of the Armed Forces of Liberia. Giving this 11th day of February 2019, seal of the President, Major General Daniel D. Zianka, retired Minister of National Defense, Dr. George Mane Weah, President of the Republic of Liberia. Please be seated. We'll invite Sergeant Masale Brema. Service order. Sergeant Masale Brahma is a professional military officer of the Armed Forces of Liberia who completed several military courses, including initial entry training, advanced individual training, basic non-commissioned officer course, instructional training course 1, 2, and 3 in Liberia, and United Nations peacekeeping mission training in Timbuktu, Mali. Sergeant Brahma currently serves as a Reserve Officer Training Corps, ROTC instructor at the Booker Washington Institute in Kakata, Magibe County. Sergeant Brahma previously served as squad leader with the United Nations Multi-Dimensional Integrated Stabilization Mission in Mali, where he guided, trained, mentored, and provided leadership, ensuring that his fellow soldiers' welfare were sought. Sergeant Brahma also served as an imam of Liberia-Afl and provided spiritual guidance and counseling. On 3rd May 2017, the super camp in Timbuktu, Mali, which housed Liberia-Afl, was attacked with mortars. In the midst of the mortar attacks on the camp, Sergeant Brahma displayed exceptional leadership and braved the situation as the first soldier to implement a rescue mission, which he saved the lives of 2 of his comrades in arms. Sergeant Brahma's outstanding display of selfless service is in keeping with the finest tradition of military service and reflects distinct credit upon himself, his family, and the men and women of the Armed Forces of Liberia and the Republic of Liberia. Therefore, for his conspicuous gallantry and meritorious service rendered to his fellow soldiers of the Armed Forces of Liberia during a combat mission, I, Dr. George Mane Weah, President of the Republic of Liberia and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Liberia, do hereby decorate and award the Distinguished Service Honor to Sergeant Masole Brahma of the Armed Forces of Liberia. Your services to our country bring credit upon yourself and the men and women of the Armed Forces of Liberia, giving this 11th day of February 2019 seal of the President. Major General Daniel D. Zianka, Minister of National Defense, Dr. George Manewia, President of the Republic of Liberia. Will ask a representative of the Sea Shepherd Global to come forth. Citation for Distinguished Service Order. The Sea Shepherd Global is a natural partner to the Republic of Liberia. Together, the Liberian Ministry of National Defense and Sea Shepherd launched Operation Sola Stella, named from the Latin word for Lone Star, and to symbolize a regional leadership by the Ministry of National Defense in the fight against illegal fishing. The goal of the partnership is to enforce Liberian laws in combating illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing in the sovereign waters of Liberia. Under the direction of the Liberian Coast Guard, joint at-sea patrols began in February 2017, and Sea Shepherd contributed the use of a civilian offshore patrol vessel, the Bob Barker, to Liberia. The partnership has been successful by utilizing a mixed crew of international Sea Shepherd personnel who operate the vessel and the Liberian Coast Guard sailors, with the authority to board, inspect, and arrest vessels violating Liberia laws and regulations. As a result of Operation Sola Stella, 14 unlawful vessels have been detained, generating critical income for the government through fines. A significant level of deterrence has been developed for other illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing vessels. Liberia's operational readiness at sea has been enhanced. Liberian waters have been protected, ensuring food and income security for the people of Liberia, and enhancing collaboration between multiple agencies, thereby protecting Liberia and Liberian waters from future intruders and criminals. Sea Shepherd's outstanding support to the government of Liberia through the Armed Forces of Liberia is in fulfillment of its global mission to conserve and protect marine wildlife and ecosystems, and this reflects distinct credit upon the organization and its dedicated services. Therefore, for your outstanding contribution to the people of Liberia through the Armed Forces of Liberia and the Ministry of Defense, I, Dr. George Manewia, President of the Republic of Liberia and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Liberia, do hereby decorate and award the Distinguished Service Order to Sea Shepherd. Your services to our country bring credit to yourself, the people of Liberia, your organization, and country, giving this 11th day of February 2019 seal of the President. The Defense Minister and Dr. George Manewia, President of the Republic of Liberia and Commander-in-Chief. Major David Hoover, retired. Citation for Distinguished Service Order. Major David Hoover, retired, an experienced professional and decorated military personnel of the United States Army, is a recipient of several awards, including Bronze Star Medal, Distinguished Service Medal, Meritorious Service Medal, Army Achievement Medal, Army Good Conduct Medal, Army Reserve Components Achievement Medal, National Defense Service Medal, Global War on Terrorism, Expeditionary Medal, Armed Forces Reserve Medal, Polaris Unit Award, and Meritorious Unit Award. Major David Hoover completed several military trainings, including the Maneuver Captain's Career Course, Security Cooperation Management Overseas, Defense Support of Civil Authority Course, and Military Response to Domestic, Chemical, Biological, Radiological, Nuclear, and Explosives Attacks, etc. Major Hoover served 6 years as an active duty infantryman and AH-64A attack helicopter repairman, and completed one overseas tour of duty in Bamberg, Germany, prior to joining the Michigan Army National Guard in September 1998. He was deployed in several missions, including Operation Enduring Freedom, Company E, 1st Battalion, 125th Infantry, and Operation Iraqi Freedom. Major Hoover held several leadership positions, which include Tank Platoon Squad Leader, Company B, 1st Battalion, 246th Armor, Rear Detachment Commander, Mobilization Operations Officer, Joint Forces Headquarters, S4, 1st Squadron, 126th Cavalry, Plans Officer, 1st Squadron, 126th Cavalry, ASFP Operations Officer, 46th Military Police Command, Bilateral Affairs Officer, Liberia, Joint Forces Headquarters, and State Partnership Program Director, Joint Forces Headquarters. As a member of the Michigan National Guard, Major Hoover coordinated 4 Michigan National Guard engineer rotations that constructed 2 buildings for the Linda Thomas Greenfield Preparatory School located at the EBK Barracks. He also executed over 10 traveling contact teams between the Michigan National Guard and AFL, and oversaw the procurement of 20 vehicles for the Armed Forces of Liberia. Major Hoover supported 2 visits of the AFL Chief of Staff to Michigan in support of Northern Strike. Major Hoover's outstanding support to the Armed Forces of Liberia is in keeping with the finest tradition of military service and reflect the sisterly relationship between the Armed Forces of Liberia and the Michigan National Guard. This transformative impact is evidenced by the AFL's civil military support to civilian authority. Now, therefore, for his exceptional, meritorious service to the government of Liberia through the Ministry of National Defense and the Armed Forces of Liberia, I, Dr. George Manewia, President of the Republic of Liberia and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Liberia, do hereby decorate and award the Distinguished Service Order to retire Major David Hoover. Your services to our country bring credit upon yourself, your family, the United States military, the men and women of the Armed Forces of Liberia, and the people of the Republic of Liberia, and that of the United States, giving this 11th day of February 2019 seal of the President. Last but not the least, we'll be calling on to come forth Lieutenant Colonel Mustafa Jimo. Citation for Distinguished Service Order. Lieutenant Colonel Mustafa Jimo is an experienced military personnel of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He holds a master's in international affairs and strategic studies, a Bachelor of Science in economics, postgraduate diploma in education, and diploma in computer science. Lieutenant Colonel Jimo completed several courses, including multiple platoon commanders course, young officers course, and regimental signal officers course. He attended many civil and military institutions, which include University of Ilorin, River State University of Science and Technology, Port Harcourt, Kwara State College of Education, Nigerian Army Signal School, Lagos, Nigerian Army School of Infantry, Nigerian Army School of Education, and Armed Forces Command and Staff College. Lieutenant Colonel Mustafa Jimo was seconded to the Armed Forces of Liberia from January 2008 to July 2010 and held several positions in the AFL, namely Charlie Company Commander, Executive Officer, 1st Infantry Battalion, Executive Officer, 2nd Infantry Battalion, and Acting Commander, 1st Infantry Battalion. He also contributed to the training of 1 to 3 batches of AFL officers, batch 1 to 7 of AFL soldiers. He also oversaw the conduct of promotion examination for 1st and 2nd batch of AFL officers and conducted leadership training for both AFL officers, enlisted men, to enable them assume leadership roles, mentorship, and guidelines of military leadership and conduct of military training ops. Lieutenant Colonel Mustafa Jimo's outstanding support to the government of Liberia and the Armed Forces of the Republic of Liberia is in keeping with the finest tradition of military service and reflects distinct credit upon himself, his family, and the men and women of the Nigerian Army. Now, therefore, for his dedication and meritorious service to the Armed Forces of Liberia, I, Dr. George Manewia, President of the Republic of Liberia and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Liberia, do hereby decorate and award this Distinguished Service Order to Lieutenant Colonel Mustafa Jimo. Your services to our country bring credit upon yourself, the Nigerian military, the people of Liberia, and the people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, giving this 11th day of February 2019 seal of the President. Major General Daniels D. Ziakan, Minister of National Defense, and Dr. George Manewia, President of the Republic of Liberia and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces.
I'm greatly honored to welcome you here today at the Barker Training Center in commemoration of this year's Armed Forces Day celebration. This day gave us an opportunity to express our gratitude, admiration, and support to the men and women of the Armed Forces of Liberia. Your Excellency, about a year ago, you asked me to join your administration to lead the Ministry of National Defense and the Armed Forces of Liberia. Mr. President, after a year today, I am proud to report that the military is stable and our men and women in arms are even vigilant and remain a force for good. Thank you, Mr. President, for the confidence and trust reposing me to discharge this noble responsibility. I can proudly say that the Armed Forces of Liberia has gained its rightful place in our society. Our soldiers are well trained, respected, trustworthy, and reflect the hope and aspiration of the Liberian people. This did not happen by coincidence. It took focused recruit strategy, sustained training, education, and rigorous monitoring. Permit me in this public manner to say, bravo to the guardian men and women of the Armed Forces of Liberia for your service to our country. The Armed Forces of Liberia has experienced remarkable changes, though not without challenges. But I can report to you today, Mr. President, that based on your vision for our military, with the help of our international partners, our men and women in arms are the most trained, disciplined, combat-ready force that our nation can boast of. This program is built on many years of methodical effort by our predecessor, our international partner. Thank you, former President Eden Johnson Salih, and to the former President of the Ministry of National Defense, Minister J. Bani Samakar. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor to report that the AFL continues to be a force for good, capable of conducting at least 2 missions simultaneously and participating in civil operations that enhance the reconstruction of our country, as well as contribute to regional and international peace and security. We remain ever grateful to our bilateral and international partners in the preparation of our armed forces as a part of the defense sector reform. We are mainly appreciative of the United States government continued support to our military and civilian employees through the Foreign Military Financing Program. Similarly, we are grateful to the government and the People's Republic of China for the training opportunities for our military and civilian staff to study in China. These training opportunities will particularly enhance the operational capabilities of our soldiers as they undertake non-lethal tasks and help strengthen individual capacities of civilian employees as they respond to the needs of the Armed Forces of Liberia. Your Excellency, I am cognizant of your vision of building a military that is apolitical, and the only person within our chain of command that should be political is the Commander-in-Chief. And a respected institution, an organization welcome as a defender of the Constitution and its citizens. As part of our effort to support your vision, we have engaged in various sustained initiatives to ensure reforms and establish constructive civil military relations. We are also aware that the responsibilities of our nation's armed forces and to its citizens is paramount. To this end, we have crafted a clear code of conduct supported by a sustained effort to incorporate ethical values in the armed forces and reinforces accountability, public trust, integrity, service, and respect for human rights. To ensure this, we have collaborated with our international partners from the United States Department of Defense, the Department of State, and our office, and the U.S. Office of Security Cooperation in Liberia to conduct local training in for our military and civilian staff in various fields, including defense budgeting and legislative affairs. With the help of our partners, we have set up an Inspectorate General Department, or the Military Ombudsman, outside of the chain of command to ensure accountability for violations in the military and the civilian administration. Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, In the past 12 months, we have worked with our international partners to ensure that the training of our officers and enlisted becomes a priority. Last year, a considerable number of the AFL officers and enlisted benefited from training opportunities offered by the governments of the United States of America, Bangladesh, Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone, the People's Republic of China, and Egypt. Courses offered range from senior command staff courses, junior staff courses, and communication engineer courses, amongst others. Additionally, 2 certified Armed Forces of Liberia pilots have returned from Nigeria, where they underwent 7 years of rigorous training, both military and civilians, to obtain their commercial pilot licenses from the International Aviation College in Kwara State, Nigeria. These pilots will be the trailblazer for the Liberian Air Wings. Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the Armed Forces of Liberia espouses the respect for the rule of law. As a force for good, the AFL has made significant strides in building a vibrant military justice system. Currently, 2 officers of the Armed Forces of Liberia have been admitted as attorneys at law at the Liberian Bar Association. These 2 officers are being appointed as Judge Advocate General and Deputy Judge Advocate General of the AFL, respectively. Your Excellency, with the passage into law of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, the UCMJ, for the Armed Forces, a draft Code Martial regulation is being developed and will be submitted to the Chief of Staff to pave the way for the establishment of the Code Martial Board for the Armed Forces of Liberia. The Armed Forces of Liberia continues to play a role in the fight against terrorism in the sub-region. In this regard, I am pleased to report that our peacekeeping troops currently serving under the auspices of the United Nations missions in Mali are serving with honor and distinction and are ridding that sisterly republic of terrorism and extremism. I'm also proud to inform you, Mr. President, that recently the Armed Forces of Liberia conducted 2 successive rotation exercises to amend the strength of our troops in Mali. Your Excellency, the welfare of our soldiers and their family is of paramount concern to our leadership. Henceforth, and upon your instruction, Mr. President, we have begun the disbursement of the compulsory saving fund, and as additional fundings are made available, we will continue to serve our soldiers until they are completely served. Your Excellency, accommodation and housing continue to pose a major challenge for the military personnel and their families. The number of housing units in the functional barracks are inadequate to accommodate substantial amount of soldiers, especially the enlisted. This situation has resulted in the congestion of available housing units and posed a hindrance on the recruitment process in the Armed Forces of Liberia. The Ministry looks forward to more budgetary allocations in the ensuing year to begin renovation works at other barracks and military facilities as in other parts of the country as means of alleviating this problem. Our men and women in arms during the course of the last 12 months, I have the honor to serve you as your defense minister. The journey has not been easy, but we can boast of one thing: the military is a force for good. And I can undeniably say that you bear the real and true Army values of loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. You are capable of carrying out multiple and complex combinations of mission tasks and responsibility, and it's evident by your deeds. You continue to demonstrate the shining example and the success story of the security sector reform in our country. Thank you for your service to our country. On this note, and as we celebrate this joyous occasion of the 62nd Armed Forces Day, we soberly pay final respect to our soldiers and civilian staff members who died while serving our country. Most particularly, we pay homage to the late Honorable Ernest Mvavi, Deputy Minister for Operations, who died a few weeks ago and has been buried. May his soul and those of the faithful departed rest in peace. Our thoughts and prayers are with the families they have left behind. Finally, I wish all of our enlisted, non-commissioned officers and officers of the Armed Forces of Liberia, the general and senior staff, as well as Those who have honorably retired from the Armed Forces of Liberia, a memorial 62nd Armed Forces Day celebration. God bless the Armed Forces of Liberia, and God bless you.
We gather here today to commemorate the 62nd Armed Forces Day, a day set aside to honor the gallant men and women serving in our nation's armed forces, and to recognize the immense contributions and sacrifices they have made in defense of our national sovereignty. Let me begin by congratulating the Armed Forces of Liberia and also express to you Major General Prince C. Johnson III, Chief of Staff, and all officers and members of the AFL, not forgetting the Liberian National Police, the National Immigration Services, our fire service, and all paramilitary servicemen and women. How proud we are as a nation for the services you continue to render our country. I thank you. My fellow citizens, ladies and gentlemen, before I begin my official remarks, I have to tell you that my heart is saddened with grief over many deaths which have occurred recently, and particularly in the past 24 hours. As you are aware, when I was returning to Monrovia yesterday from Banga City in Bon County, where I had attended the closing ceremonies of the 186th Annual Conference of the United Methodist Church. My convoy was intruded upon by a vehicle which slammed her into a car carrying the press corps of the Executive Marshal, resulting in 2 fatalities and seriously injured several others. One of those killed was a lady identified as Victoria Wulu, who was a passenger riding in the intruding vehicle. And Gabriel Wilson, commonly called the Executive Home, an employee of the Ministry of State, who has been traditional horn blower to all presidents of Liberia for 38 years, since 1981. Before setting out for Banga yesterday morning, we received the sad news of the death of Senator Jordan Doe Sharif, my friend, a patriot and one of the pillars of our contemporary women movement. The passing of Senator Doe Sharif does not only serve as a big blow to our family and the Senate, but to women in leadership and our young girls and women that are aspiring to be great leaders of tomorrow. She paved the way for women to rise up to the top and become voices of reason within our political spectrum. When she rose to the position of chairlady of the Congress for Democratic Change. And also, just last week, we attended the funeral of our late Deputy Minister of Defense for Operation, Honorable Ernest Vavi, who recently passed away. Today, as we mourn the death of these exemplary public servants and our innocent citizens with great anguish, let me join my voice with the many others on behalf of the government and in my own name, in wishing their families my deepest and heartfelt condolences as we endure this time of distress and grief. I therefore ask you to stand and join me in observing the moment of silence and the memory of these dearly departed, as our late service member who passed away during the course of the last year. Thank you. May their souls rest in perfect peace. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I would like at this time to acknowledge the presence of Ambassador Christian Edel of the United States of America. On Wednesday, 6th of February 2019, just 5 days ago, Ambassador Edel and I were together in Buchanan, Grand Bassa County, to cut the ribbon of a new boathouse for the Coast Guard of Liberia. This is a facility that was built by the United States government that will enable our Coast Guard to adequately conduct patrols along our southeastern waters. Madam Ambassador, the presence here again today is a manifestation of your country's support for the Armed Forces of Liberia. The long-standing ties between Liberia and the United States of America are becoming even stronger on our administration. Ambassador Edel, on behalf of the people of Liberia, I ask that you can extend our heartfelt appreciation to your government for the steadfast and consistent support of the professional development of the Armed Forces of Liberia as a force for good. I also understand that General John Rogers of the Michigan National Guard is here today. Thank you, General Rogers, for your leadership. Further thanks also go to the Michigan National Guard for their partnership with the engineering company of the Armed Forces of Liberia. I would also like to thank the people, Republic of China, through the ambassador accredited to Liberia, His Excellency Fung Jinjong, for his government continuous support to the Armed Forces of Liberia. Ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to inform you that the Republic of China, the People's Republic of China, through its embassy near Monrovia, recently signed a memorandum of understanding with the Ministry of National Defense and the Armed Forces of Liberia to build a modern laboratory facility for the 14th Military Hospital. The laboratory will cost several millions United States dollars, and when completed, will be one of the best in the West African sub-region. We want to extend our deepest appreciation to the Chinese government for its unflinching support to our military. Let me also recognize the presence of His Excellency Ambassador James G. Demka of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Ambassador Demka served in Liberia. Service in Liberia creates the basis for a sustained bilateral relationship between Liberia and the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which seeks to promote regional peace and security, and which underscores Nigeria's commitment to peace and prosperity in Liberia. Let me also thank this year Keep No Speaker, a legal luminary and a former Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of Liberia, His Honor Justice Philip Banks, for the wonderful speech delivered, which has given us much food for thoughts. Justice Banks' well-known contributions and leadership to our justice systems over the years have elevated Liberia's management of the rule of law,
and revive and strengthen our jurisprudence. Thank you, Justice Benz, for your service to our country. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a great and singular honor for me as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Liberia to lead a military of young and brilliant Liberians who call to patriotic duty is motivated by their love for country. I'm grateful and inspired as a Commander-in-Chief, and I'm exceptionally proud of the enormous sacrifices you have made and continue to make to our country. Every year, the Distinguished Service Order, DSOE award is given to individuals for their invaluable services rendered to the Armed Forces of Liberia, our nation and humanity. This year, it gives me a great honor to recognize and thank the 2019 recipient of the Distinguished Service Order. It is hope that this recognition will reinforce your resolve to continue to serve our armed forces and humankind. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, each Armed Forces Day is celebrated on a team carefully selected to serve as a focused guardian to the operations, growth and development of the armed forces for the ensuing year. The theme for this 2019 is building a force for good through service and welfare. And it is designed to highlight the fact that the services and sacrifices made by our men and women in uniform fundamentally exceed the care and benefits they receive from our government. One of the hallmarks of any civilized nation is the way it supports and respects those who fight in defense of their country, including their families. The government of Liberia, on our watch, is committed to upholding the welfare of our men and women who continue to put their lives on the line to keep us safe. They are an integral part of who we are as a nation and an inspiration to us all. As a country and people, let us honor that commitment by showing our support to our military. Our government will take tangible measures to make their lives easier and better. We cannot have a well-respected military if they are not assured of their welfare. Our soldiers are on oath to sacrifice their life for the safety of our nation. Therefore, as their Commander-in-Chief, I am obligated to cater to their well-being at all times. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, cognizant of this plight of our military, in my first Armed Forces Day message to our soldiers, our government promised to build a state of an art medical center for the use of our military, their families and dependents, as well as other citizens of our country. For some, it was just a mere words. For others, it was just a pipe dream, and illusions not grounded in reality. But as I've often told you, I am not a man of words, but a man of action. Today, I am pleased to report that significant progress has been made to date in fulfilling this promise. After the conduct of a professional feasibility study, A suitable site was chosen for the 14th Military Hospital, and construction is now far advanced. With the assistance of the engineering company of the Armed Forces of Liberia, the structure has now reached roof level and is expected to be completed by the middle of 2020. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the welfare of our men and women in arms remain the primary concern of this administration. Our military personnel should not have to pay for their own welfare. Last year, I instructed the Chief of Staff of the AFL to immediately prescribe the appropriate policy, procedure, and management of all welfare-related issues, including the present welfare account. I am pleased to have been duly informed that disbursement of soldiers' compulsory saving is currently in progress. Of equal importance, the men and women who are trained to defend and protect the sovereignty of our country should not dwell in congested and low-standard housing facilities. To this end, I have instructed the Ministry of Defense to commence an immediate evaluation of all military barracks around the country and begin urgent repairs and renovation of damaged housing units. You can rest assured that when completed, the problem of congestion at our military facility will be finally eliminated, and our men and women in uniform and their dependents will have better accommodation. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, our military families are our unsung heroes. As a nation, we must pay keen attention to them. When families are stressed and distressed, it impacts negatively on the overall readiness of our soldiers. So my administration will strive to create a secure environment and wellness program for our military families and provide them with a quality of life that is commensurate with the value of their support for our men and women in arms. My fellow Liberians, our military is and remains a force for good. This is evident by the series of initiatives the AFL has been involved with across the country, ranging from construction works on the 14th Military Hospital, collaboration with the Ministry of Public Works, on roads, repairs and rehabilitations, and renovation of houses in our barracks around the country. Our troops also provide medical and public health education, comprising family planning and HIV and AIDS awareness to communities and areas with the vicinities of their barracks. In the post-Ome environment, support to civil authority and local government remain critical. That is why my government will continue to provide the Armed Forces of Liberia and the Ministry of National Defense the necessary support within the scope of our fiscal space in the implementation of these initiatives as we harmonize our strategy towards the achievement of the Pro agenda for prosperity and development. Over the years, our military has been involved in lethal and non-lethal operations with internal and external. These operations were meant to protect our borders against armed aggressions and restore the confidence of Liberians in our military. It is clear to me that the effectiveness and enhanced capability of our soldiers can be credited to the quality of training that our partners have imparted to our armed forces, coupled with their preparedness and willingness to execute assignment tasks. As we celebrate the gallantry of our men and women in uniform, I want to reiterate the commitment of our government to building the capacity of the AFL to ensure that civil authority is fully supported. My government will support the expansion of the engineering company to a battalion in the next couple of years to enhance the ability of the AFL to fully exercise its civil military engagement. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the Liberian Coast Guard, which has the mandate of operating or protecting Liberian territorial waters, remain a very important element of the Armed Forces of Liberia. Quite recently, the Liberian Coast Guard interdicted and arrested fishery vessels engaged in illegal fishing activities in our territorial waters. These operations not only protect and defend our territorial waters, but also contribute to the economic viability of our country. We will continue to step up patrol of our coastal waters, and we shall prosecute any individual caught violating our maritime domain. As part of our commitment to national security, we hereby reaffirm our strong support for all of our law enforcement agencies, including the National Police, the National Security Agency, the Drug Enforcement Agency, and the Liberia Immigration Service, so that they will become more proficient and professional in the discharge of their functions. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as a developing force under a democratic dispensation, the AFL has continued to grow. In this regard, we all witnessed a change of command at the top echelon of the force last year when Major General D.Z. Zanga Jr. retired. The current Minister of Defense handed over to his then Deputy Major General Prince Charles Johnson III. The current Chief of Staff, we all had the privilege to appoint the first Deputy Chief of Staff, Brigadier General Geraldine George. We are encouraged by the many commendations we have received from our development partners, including the USA, China, ECOWAS, and many others, regarding the progress we have made with the development of our armed forces. This has reinforced our resolve to do more. We will remain committed to this task, and we will not rest, but work even harder to ensure that our armed forces, through training, education, and support, will continue to develop as a force for good. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the successes of our military would not have been achieved without the active and generous support of our international partners. We are grateful for the immense contributions to our troops through scholarships and training opportunities, logistical and other support that continue to enhance the administrative and operational capabilities of the AFL as a force for good. To date, more than 500 personnel of the Armed Forces of Liberia have been trained in various fields in the United States of America, the People's Republic of China, the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Ghana, Bangladesh, the Arab Republic of Egypt, and Rwanda. Similarly, we are grateful to the ECOWAS advisory training team provided by our sister nation of Nigeria, Ghana and Sierra Leone. On behalf of the people of Liberia and the members of the Armed Forces of Liberia, I want to extend our appreciation to you. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, despite the significant gain made in the handling of post-homeland security responsibilities, we expect the task of the AFL and other laws enforcement agencies to become even greater in the coming months and years. The operations of the AFL will likely increase, and civil military engagement will become more frequent in order to shoulder responsibility that we were created as a result of the departure of Hoover. We are optimistic that the tactical, administrative, and operational enhancement provided by our bilateral and multilateral partnership will enable the Armed Forces of Liberia responsibly execute their assignment in a professional manner and to the collective interest of our sovereignty. To members of the National Legislature, we extend our profound gratitude for upholding the constitutional mandate in appropriating the necessary budgetary support for the Armed Forces of Liberia. Special commendation are extended to the Defense Committee in both the House of Representatives and the House of Senate. And now, in closing, let me encourage you, our men and women in arms, to continue to serve, to protect Liberia with diligence, dedication, commitment, courage, bravery, and above all, loyalty in defense of our country's cause. I wish the Armed Forces of Liberia a happy celebration of Armed Forces Day. And I said thank you. May God bless and save our state.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the Commander of Troops will now request permission from the Commander-in-Chief for a pass and review. Marching the troop majestically is the Commander of Troops, Colonel Theophilus Anto Dana. Brigade Commander, 23rd Infantry Brigade, Armed Forces of Liberia. First Battalion Alpha Company is commanded by 2nd Lieutenant Abraham Buru. Rifle Company 1st Battalion, 23rd Infantry Brigade is commanded by 2nd Lieutenant Precious Abraham. The Darwin bearer is Sergeant Sinibi Ishmael, and the corporal for Sergeant is First Sergeant Liman Abraham. The Charlie Company 1st Battalion 29th Infantry Brigade is commanded by Second Lieutenant Bowen J. The Garland Bearer is Corporal Johnson Emmanuel, and the Company 1st Sergeant is Sergeant Clark Christian. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2nd Infantry Battalion is commanded by Captain Antonin Che Tapper. Member of the staff includes Captain Senator P.B. George, Captain Emmanuel Peter Wilson, Captain John N. Nduo, and First Lieutenant Sharif Ansu. Second Battalion is Second Lieutenant Brian Plamo. His Garland Bearer is Gibson Matthew, and the Company 1st Sergeant is Hoover Bisa. Commanding the Charter Company 2nd Battalion, 23rd Infantry Brigade is Second Lieutenant Bolonga James, and the Company 1st Paul Joseph. Ladies and gentlemen, the Armed Forces Training Command is commanded by Captain Abraham Kamara, and the Command Sergeant Major is Collins Balancasa. The librarian Cruise is commanded by Lieutenant Junior Grant Francois George, and the Master Chief is Zobon Andrews. The Logistic Command of the Armed Forces of Liberia is commanded by Second Lieutenant Small Mansky, and the Garland Bearer is Corporal Chair Agnes, and the Command Sergeant Major is Sergeant Bwaka Baramida. Ladies and gentlemen, they will please rise for the passing of the chorus. Members of the chorus party include Sergeant Sharif Abbas of the Armed Forces of Liberia, the Rifleman, Sergeant Gross Jr. Demosthenes, Armed Forces of Liberia, the Liberian State.
Hey, oh, Jabay, hey, oh, Jabay, hey, oh, Jabay, hey, hoorah, hi, hoorah, hi, hoorah, hi.
This is the way I wanted to be, oh, this is the way I wanted to be. This is the way I wanted to be, oh, this is the way I wanted to be. Hey, I wanna be a soldier. Rugged. Hey, 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 I wanna be a soldier. This is the way I wanted to be.
Oh, Jabay, hey, oh, Jabay, hey, oh, Jabay, hey, Moora, hi, Moora, hi, Moora, hi, Moora, hi, Moora, hi.
Oh, Mimi Coco Miko, oh, Mimi Coco Miko. Oh Mimi Coco Laberi, oh Mimi Coco Bakasi, oh Mimi Coco Siriali, oh Mimi Coco Miko. Iyo, iya, iyo, eko ya ya yo. Eko Bakasi, Eko Liberia, Eko ya ya yo. Iyo, iya, iyo, Eko ya ya yo.
Oh, Jabay, hey, oh, Jabay, hey, Moora, hi, Moora, hi, Moora, hi, Moora, hi.
Abesi say oh, I beg say
wonderful,
I beg say oh mama Jelina,
wonderful,
Mami water say make I no gonna water.
wonderful,
I go gonna water, I see something.
wonderful,
And mama papa say make I no John soldier.
wonderful,
If I John soldier, I go see wahala.
wonderful,
But I John soldier, I no see wahala.
wonderful,
As I John soldier, my moral high.
wonderful,
As I John soldier, I can't be rocket.
wonderful. Oh, Jabe, hey, oh, Jabe, hey, oh, Jabe, hey, Mura,
Hi.
Mura,
Hi. He gave me one follow, hey. He gave me one follow.
comfort,
He gave me one follow, hey. He gave me one follow.
comfort,
Look una hola mo.
comfort,
Look una hola mo.
comfort.
Today, tomorrow no more. If I die today, I will die no more. Today, tomorrow no more. If I die today, I will die no more. Kai.
Zambu,
Zabu, zabu, I go dance with you, I go play with you, but I no go touch your cherry. I go make you happy, no go ye back, no go ye back. Open the chamber, pata pata. Auntie ye na go de, daya money. Auntie ye na go de, daya money. Cock and who, daya money. Hold and well, daya money. Auntie ye na go de, daya money. Inkererenke, inkererenke. Say alabio, alabio, alabio. Say ubandoma, ubandoma, ubandoma. Say omolara, omolara, omolara. Say iyabose, iyabose, iyabose. Oli, 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 oli. Shanta, oli, 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 oli. Shanta, munje garungu munje kulawa. Shanta, unkunzo garungu ya kenan. Shanta, oli, 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 oli. Shanta, oli, oli. Shanta, oli,
Shanta.
Iyole, iyo, iyama, iyo, iyole, iyo, iyama, iyo. Since morning, iyo, I no bad job, iyo. So running, iyo, so jogging, iyo, iyole, iyo, iyama, iyo, iyole, iyo, iyama, iyo. Uchi kan food, iyo, your mama cook, iyo, so pepper, iyo, so maggi, iyo, babu gishiri, iyo. Mama no dey, Baba no dey, If you want to fire me, fire make I die. I will never run away from this army. Mama no dey, no dey, Baba no dey, no dey. If you want to fire me, fire make I die. I will never run away from this army. This is the way I wanted to be, this is the way I wanted to be. This is the way I wanted to be, this is the way I wanted to be. Left, right, left, right, left, right. Left, right, left, right, just stay. Left, 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 right. Left, right, left, right, just stay. My left, my right. My left, my right. My left, right leg. My left, right leg. My left, my right. My left, right leg. My left, right leg. The kind of jogging, where we do, it make us forget, throughout the call, my left, my right, my left, right leg, my left, right leg, my left, my right, my left, right leg, my left, right leg.
Hey, oh, Jabe, hey.
is the way I wanted to be. Oh, this is the way I wanted to be. This is the way I wanted to be. Oh, this is the way I wanted to be. Hey, I wanna be a soldier. Hey, I wanna be a rugged. Hey, 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 I wanna be a soldier. This is the way I wanted to be. Koko Siriali, Mimi Koko Miko. Iyo, Eko ya yo. Eko Bakasi, Eko Liberia, Eko ya yo. Iyo. Eko ya
hey, oh Jabe, hey, oh Jabe, hey, Mura, hi, Mura, hi, Mura, hi, Mura, hi.
Abese oh, Abese,
wonderful.
Abese oh, Mama Jelina,
wonderful.
Mami water say make I no kona water,
wonderful.
I go kona water I see something,
wonderful.
And Mama Papa say make I no John Soldier,
wonderful.
If I John Soldier I go see wahala,
wonderful.
But I John Soldier I no see wahala,
wonderful.
As I John Soldier my morale high,
wonderful.
As I John Soldier I can't be rugged,
wonderful. Oh Jabe, hey, oh Jabe, hey, oh Jabe, hey, Mura, hi, Mura, hi.
He gave me one follow, hey. He gave me one follow,
comfort.
He gave me one follow, hey. He gave me one follow,
comfort.
Lokuna hola mo,
comfort.
Lokuna hola mo,
comfort.
Today, tomorrow no more. If I die today, I will die no more. Today, tomorrow no more. If I die today, I will die no more.
Zabu,
I go dance with you, I go play with you, but I no go touch your cherry. I go make you happy, no go ye back, no go ye back. Open the chamber, pata pata. Auntie ye na go de, diamond. Auntie ye na go de, diamond. Cock and hoop, diamond. All and well, diamond. Auntie ye na go de, diamond. Inkererenge, say alabio, say ubandoma, say omolara, say iyabose, only yo,
Shanta,
only yo,
Shanta,
munje garin mundi kulawa,
Shanta,
kunzo garin yaya kenan,
Shanta,
only yo,
Shanta,
only yo,
Shanta,
only yo,
Shanta.
Iyole, iyama, iyole, iyama, since morning, I no back drop, still so running, so jolly, iyole, iyama, iyole, iyama, what you come food, your mama cook, so pepper, so mighty, babu gishiri, mama no dey, Papa no dey, if you want to fire me, fire make I die. I will never run away from this army. Mama no dey, no dey, Papa no dey, no dey. If you want to fire me, fire make I die. I will never run away from this army. My left, my right, my left, my right, my left, right leg, my left, right leg, my left, my right, my left, my right, my left, right leg, my left, right leg. This is the way I wanted to be, oh, this is the way I wanted to be. This is the way I wanted to be, oh, this is the way I wanted to be. Hey, I wanna be a soldier. Hey, I wanna be a rugged. Hey, 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 I wanna be a soldier. This is the way I wanted to be. Miko, Omi Miko, Omi Miko Liberia, Omi Miko Bakasi, Omi Miko Sierra Leone, Omi Miko. Eko ya yo. Eko Bakasi, Eko Liberia, Eko ya yo. Eko ya yo. Abese, wonderful. Abese, oh mama Jelina, wonderful. Mami water say make I no gonna water, wonderful. I go gonna water, I see something, wonderful. And mama papa say make I no John soldier, wonderful. If I John soldier, I go see wahala, wonderful. But I John soldier, I no see wahala, wonderful. As I John soldier, my morale high, wonderful. As I John soldier, I can't be rocket, wonderful. Oh the bay, hey, oh the bay, hey, oh the bay, hey, Mura, hi, Mura, hi. He gave me one follow, hey. He gave me one follow, oh. He gave me one follow, hey. He gave me one follow, oh. Look una hola mo, look una hola mo. Today, tomorrow no more. If I die today, I will die no more. Today, tomorrow no more. If I die today, I will die no more. I go dance with you, I go play with you, but I no go touch your cherry. I go make you happy, no go back, no go back. Open the chamber, pata. Auntie na bode, diamond. Auntie na bode, diamond. Kokanku, diamond. Olanwen, diamond. Auntie na bode, diamond. Inkererenge, say I love you, say ubandoma. Say omolara, say iyabose. Only yo, Shanta, only yo, Shanta, munje garungu kulawa, Shanta, kunzo garungu ya kenan, Shanta, only yo, Shanta, only yo, Shanta. Iyama, iyo, iyo leo, iyo, Iyama, iyo, since morning, iyo, another drop, iyo, so running, iyo, so jogging, iyo le, iyo, Iyama, iyo leo, Iyama, uchi kan food, your mama cook, so pepper, so mighty, babu gishiri, mama no dey, Baba no dey, if you want to fire me, fire make I die. I will never run away from this army. Mama no dey, no dey, Baba no dey, no dey. If you want to fire me, fire make I die. I will never run away from this army. This is the way I wanted to be, oh. This is the way I wanted to be. This is the way I wanted to be, oh. This is the way I wanted to be. Left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. Just stay. Left, 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 right, left, right, left, right. Just stay. My left, my right, my left, my right, my left, right leg, my left, right leg, my left, my right, my left, my right, my left, right leg, my left, right leg. The kind of jogging, where we do, it make us forget, throughout the call, my left, my right, my left, my right, my left, right leg, my left, right leg, my left, my right, my left, my right, my left, right leg, my left, right leg. This is the way I wanted to be. Oh, Jabe, hey, oh, Jabe, hey, oh, Jabe, hey, Mura, hi, Mura, hi, Mura, hi, Mura, hi, Mura, hi. Oh, Mimi Coco Miko, oh, Mimi Coco Miko, oh, Mimi Coco Liberia. Oh Mimi Coco Bakasi, oh Mimi Coco Siriali, oh Mimi Coco Miko. Iyo, eko ya yo. Eko Bakasi, eko Liberia, eko ya yo. Iyo, eko ya yo. Oh Jabe, hey, oh Jabe, hey, oh Jabe, hey, Mura, hi, Mura, hi, Mura, hi, Mura, hi. Abese oh, abese, wonderful. Abese oh, Mama Jelina, wonderful. Mami water say make I no gonna water, wonderful. I go gonna water, I see something, wonderful. And Mama Papa say make I no John Soldier, wonderful. If I John Soldier, I go see wahala, wonderful. But I John Soldier, I no see wahala, wonderful. As I John Soldier, my morale high, wonderful. As I John Soldier, I can't be rugged, wonderful. Oh Jabe, hey, oh Jabe, hey, oh Jabe, hey, Mura, hi, Mura, hi. He gave me one follow, hey. He gave me one follow, he gave me one follow, hey. He gave me one follow, look una hola mo, look una hola mo. today, tomorrow no more. If I die today, I will die no more. Today, tomorrow no more. If I die today, I will die no more. I go dance with you, I go play with you, but I no go touch your cherry. I go make you happy, no go back, no go back. Open the chamber, pata pata. Auntie na go de diamond. Auntie na go de diamond. Cock and pull diamond, all and well diamond. Auntie na go de diamond. Inkererente, say I love you, I love you, I love you. Say ubandoma, ubandoma, ubandoma. Say omolara, omolara, omolara. Say iyabose, iyabose, iyabose. Only yo. Shanta, only yo. Shanta, munje garungu mundi kulawa. Shanta, unkunzo garungu ya kenan. Shanta, only yo. Shanta, only yo. Shanta, only yo. Shanta. Iyole, iyama, iyole, iyama, tinsi money, another drop, so running, so jogging, iyole, iyama, iyole, iyama, what you count food, your mama cook, so pepper, so mighty, babu gishiri, mama no dey, Baba no dey. If you want to fire me, fire make I die. I will never run away from this army.